This is What School Didn't Teach Me, a podcast meant to build community on all the things school doesn't prepare you for. Hi, I'm your host, Jasmine Kiamber, and class is in session. Hey, classmates, y'all already know what time it is. Class is in session. It's your host, Jasmine Kiamber, and I'm excited to be here today. So, today's episode goes right along the lines of the first episode from this season. So if you haven't watched the first episode from this season, please do. It's season 2, you have to know what's going on, what's going to be new, what we're doing out here, and what school didn't teach me. So go watch that first episode. We're back. Go watch that and then come over here. But this episode is This Life Ain't Easy, but so I want to have certain segments or, every now and again have an episode titled This Life Ain't Easy, but, and then whatever the theme of the episode is going to be. And so today is going to be the first one where it's its own episode. I did a portion of it, or I did a piece of This Life Ain't Easy, but I think it was the season finale of last year. Whoa, not last year, of last season. And I just figured it would be better to make it its own episode instead of making it a segment to the beginning, like the beginning segment of an episode. Like it should have its own content. Yeah. And then one of my updates, or one of the things that I felt like was going to be new this season, was I was going to try to be more vulnerable. And little episodes like this will definitely give me the opportunity to be more vulnerable with you guys. So yeah, let's get into it. This one, okay, so today's episode, or today's This Life Ain't Easy, is fairly recent. Not fairly recent, it's very recent. And it's a little, I don't know, I think vulnerability is just new to me. So I don't know how to walk us into the episode or the conversation, but I think I just should start. So if you listen to the first episode of this season, if you listen to We're Back, you know that I went on a fast. I went on a 21-day fast for the month of August. And the fast ended, well, by the time you all see this video, the fast will be, I will have ended the fast for like 2 weeks. And in the 21-day fast, you're supposed to like write down the things that you're praying for. Like before you start the fast, you're supposed to be fasting for a reason. And so I was fasting because I wanted to get clarity from God. I wanted to hear from God about the podcast, about law school, about my community and my friendships. Like I had so many concerns and so many things that I wanted to hear from God about. And I just felt like the fast was the perfect thing to do. So I fasted from Instagram. I did not fast from food. I fasted from social media, specifically Instagram. I don't really use TikTok anymore, but I do use Locket. I did not fast from Locket. I just fasted from TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, I fasted. I fasted from Instagram because that's what the Lord told me to fast from. Then I was praying about, like I said, I was praying about the podcast. I was praying about my community. I was praying about this season of the podcast. And then I had some habits that I was struggling with. That I wanted God to kind of just help me with. And, a fast is a detox. So I was fasting, of course, from those habits. They say, I hope I'm about to say this right, but I think they say it takes 21 days to make a habit, right? So, yeah, I had some habits I was struggling with, so I wanted God to help me with that. And honestly, I really, really enjoyed the fast. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I did, in the beginning, find myself, scrolling on Instagram, just on autopilot, on default mode. And I was like, oh my gosh, so then I would just get off and I would continually exercise that self-control to the point where I had to take Instagram off of my homepage, on your phone. Now they have an app library. I had to just put it in the library because I did not want to create a habit of accidentally pressing it. And now, honestly, I don't even miss it. I need to go back on there to promote the podcast, of course, and, push media out for this season for the podcast. But I'm really not in a rush to get back on social media. So the fast ended on September 1st. The fast ended on September 1st, and I really feel like I had answered prayers. I was praying about my community, and I gained new friendships while I was in the fast. I was praying about the podcast, and I gained a whole new sense of confidence for this season. And I've recorded episodes, and I have made progress towards the media that's supposed to be pushed out for this season. Like, I really got a chance to focus and to dismiss any kind of anxiety that came from this season, and dismiss any anxiety that came from working on my relationships and working on my friendships. I am not always the best communicator, and I'm not always the first person to like reach out or to invite somebody to do something. But if these are my goals, nobody can achieve my goals but me, and so I push myself to make the steps towards gaining new friendships and to reconnect and reconnecting with the people that I love or that I already feel strongly with. So all in all, the fast I felt was great, and I felt like I had strengthened my relationship with God, especially since I found myself reading more. Like, usually when you fast, it's like you fast from something, you abstain from something, you read your Bible, and then like you pray. And the praying and the fasting, I got that on lock, but the reading is where you got me, because I just felt like the Bible was overwhelming. But I would read specific chapters. Like, I started out reading specific chapters. Like, I read Ephesians, I read Galatians. I think those were the only two that I finished. And then I think I moved on. I either moved on to Philippians or I moved on to Romans. But then I just dismissed that sequence entirely. And now I'm starting in Genesis. So I'm in Genesis, and I'm going to see, I'm going to gradually make my way towards Revelations. I'm just trying to see what works for me, how flipping through the Bible pages work for me. If I don't make it to Genesis, if I don't make it from Genesis to Revelations, I won't be mad. I'll probably just find a new way to read, just figuring out what works for me. But I felt like, okay, not only am I reading the word and I'm learning, or I'm refreshing myself on stories that were taught to me when I was younger, but then I'm listening to sermons and they're using the same scriptures and the same passages and the same stories that I was just reading about. So it just was really refreshing to feel connected to God in that way. But I was dealing with a lot of loneliness. And I started to deal with loneliness towards the end of the fast. And that was a emotional thing on my part. Like, I knew that I wasn't lonely. Like, I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, well, do you feel like loneliness is your reality? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm lonely. I think I just feel emotional. I think I just am dealing with some emotions that make me feel lonely. And so that was something that I really, really, really had to pray about. And so I want to go back and talk about my prayer for community. I have been really honing in and really taking a good look at my community for the past 4 months, maybe. Like, I've been talking about friendships and community since last season, so this is nothing new. And I feel like I wrote down what I wanted from God in my friendships, and there's some friendships that I feel like really align with what I ask God for. And then there are some friendships that I feel like I am called to be in. Like, I was watching with the Perrys, and Jackie Hill Perry was talking about friendship and how there are some people who don't have the capacity to be the friend that you need them to be, but you are called to be their friend. You are called to be there for them. And not in an arrogant way, but I feel like, at one point this friendship may have been beneficial and it may not be as beneficial anymore, but I'm not being led away from this person. I'm actually being led closer to this person. I may have to readjust the way that we talk. I may have to readjust how often we talk. I may have to set certain boundaries. However, like, and when I do those things, I feel a lot better about being there for those people. Like at that point, it doesn't even feel like an unbalanced or an unequally yoked friendship. It just feels like, I had to make certain adjustments to do what I need to do. And I felt like I learned those things really fast. Not all in one time, of course. And they were things that I was learning before I started the fast. But, some things just get honed and emphasized, or got honed and emphasized during the fast. But of course, everybody knows that infamous prayer. Lord, if there's anybody in my life who isn't supposed to be in my life, Lord, if there's anybody in my life that's taking me away from you, take them out. And like I know, like we know, when you pray that prayer, the Lord is going to answer with a quickness. And I did not pray that prayer explicitly, but there were certain people and certain friendships and relationships that I was praying about. And I just was expecting God to, show me what I needed to see. Crazy enough, right after the fast ended, I'm talking about like the fast ended on September 1st. On September 2nd, I lost a really important relationship in my life. I lost a really important friendship. And it was such a crazy experience because I wasn't expecting that. Like, out of all the people that I could pray about, out of all the relationships that could fall off, I just wasn't expecting that friendship to dwindle or to diminish. And we talked about a reason, a season, and a lifetime last season. How some people are in your life to teach you something. Some people are in your life to help you cope with a certain season of your life. And then some people are in your life for a lifetime. And there are people in my life that I feel like will be there for a lifetime. But there are people in my life who I felt like would be there for a lifetime, but really only meant to be there for a season. And this was one of those times where, I thought it was a lifetime friendship, and it turned out to just be for a season. And it took me by surprise, but I felt really at peace with the situation, especially because, it didn't end. It wasn't like some anger or some blow up. It was just that our lives didn't align anymore. And that happens. Sometimes you grow up with people and your lives don't align anymore, and so you drift off. Sometimes you have friends and they were great for the season that you were in, but they were only meant to be there for that season. So yeah, that was such an interesting loss to take, and it was a heavy loss. But it's crazy how God sends you people at just the right time, because at the same time that I experienced that loss, I had a cousin come visit me. And the week before, she asked to come visit. And I was like, okay, cool. But I didn't know how that was going to work. I didn't know what our chemistry would be like. I didn't know how we would spend time together. I didn't know what we were going to do. Like, I didn't know how I was going to feel. I just had so much uncertainty. But when she came, it was literally the perfect time. Like, God literally sent her to be there with me, for me in that time. I had no idea that I was going to be dealing with what I was dealing with. But having her there brought me out the house. It made me feel less lonely. Like, it diminished the lonely feeling that I could feel. I got a chance to explore the city like I've been wanting to explore my city, like I've been wanting to. And that's something that I talked about in episode 1. Like, I've really been wanting to take more time to find new things that I like to do for me, new things that I like to do as a young adult, new things that I can do in Los Angeles. And I felt like her arrival was literally God sent. Like, it was literally like she was sent to be there with me. And of course, I handle my emotions well. Like, I wasn't like super distraught. I wasn't super sad throughout the day. Like, I wasn't overwhelmed. None of that. But, I had feelings on the inside that I couldn't shake for the one time. And being outside of the house and spending time with family and laughing and joking and, you know, laughing and joking and exploring and just living freely with her this past weekend has been so relieving and rejuvenating. And it wasn't a distraction, but it wasn't a distraction, but it was a soother. Like, it felt great to not be alone, because I guarantee you, had she not been there, I would have been in the bed. I feel I take my relationships very seriously. I take my friendships very seriously. If I allow you into my life, I just take the people in my life very seriously. So if I feel like something's off between me and another person, I'm bothered. I'm uncomfortable. I can sense the energy through the phone. Like, I'm trying not to act different, but I can't help but wonder, is something wrong? So, at the loss of a friendship, that hit kind of hard. At the loss of a friendship, that hit kind of hard. And so I feel like I would have been in a more depleted mood had she not been there. And I think it's so crazy how God sends the most unexpected people to your rescue when you need them. He sends the most unexpected messenger. He sends the most unexpected person. But then it's like literally just what you needed. Because when she came, I got a chance to expand on my community. I got a chance to explore my city. Like, I got a chance to do the things that were already on my list and already a part of my goals. I don't know. It was like, wow, this was God sent. This was God sent. And even though her arrival was surprising to me, because, I feel like we don't spend enough time together. Even though her arrival was surprising to me, it was just what I needed. Like, we got a chance to bond. We saw the city together. I got a chance to take my mind off of things, to not stress, to not feel overwhelmed. Like, it was just what I needed. God always knows just what you need. I don't even know if I'm exaggerating it enough, or if I'm relaying the message passionately enough. But I'm saying all this to say that this life ain't easy, but God will always give you what you need and will provide you with what you need. I needed community. I needed direction. He showed me both of those things. And he covered me when I didn't even know that I needed it. I didn't know I was going to need that energy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I was going to need that time off, that release. I didn't know I was going to need that quality time, because it wasn't a distraction. I still thought about the situation throughout the day and whatever. So it wasn't a distraction, but I needed that quality time to not be in a slump, to reflect on the benefits of the fast. Like, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, I feel like this episode is hard for me to deliver. And I feel like this episode is hard for me to deliver because I like telling a story, but I don't like being vulnerable. So it's like, it's hard, but I like where this is going. And I feel like as we do more of these episodes, I'll get a lot more comfortable. The moral of the story is that this life ain't easy, but no matter what you go through, you'll be fine. Especially if you got Jesus on your side, because he'll cover you. He'll cover you even when you don't think you need it. He'll bring the most unexpected people around you to pat your back, to dry your tears, to sit with you in moments of silence. And maybe not even that, because I wasn't doing none of that. He'll bring people around you who will take you out of your funk, who will take you out of your comfort zone, who will force you to not let your circumstances define your emotions, define your mood. Like, or at least that's what happened to me. At least that's what he did for me. This life ain't easy, but you will be fine. That's really it. I really don't want to say more than I really have to say. I really don't want to hold y'all longer than I really have to hold y'all. I just want to be vulnerable. I just want to give y'all my story. Tell you that life ain't all peaches and roses and strawberries and cream. But everything will be fine. Like, you're going to live. You're going to be fine. You're going to thrive. You're going to prosper. If you're sad, if you're angry, if you're grieving, if you're dealing, whatever you're going through, life is not easy, but you will be fine. That's all I got. And I'll see y'all next week. First of all, y'all, I had my AirPods on this whole episode and I meant to take them off, but I forgot. But I wanted to add this part before I left. So earlier in the episode, I said, I take losing people very seriously. And had my cousin not been there, I just would have been in my bed sad. I take losing people very seriously. I wanted to give my props to me because I'm proud of myself and the woman I am and the woman I'm becoming. Because while that used to be my reality, I would take people leaving, or I would take separations really hard. Even after I was left to myself and my own thoughts, I was fine. And I take certain things as signs. So I was in the car, right? I was in the car and I was driving back home and I was listening to music, and Only If by Steve Lacy came on. And we all know how the song goes. If I could travel through time, I think I tell myself from the past, you'll be fine. And when he said, I would tell myself from the past, you'll be fine, it spoke to me. Everybody knows, people who are close to me know that everything I do is for little me. Everything I do is for little Jasmine. Little Jasmine Camber, who takes people leaving really hard, who was still working on so many things. Everything I do is for her. And if I could go back and look her in the face, I would tell her she would be fine. I would tell her she would be fine. That she would learn that nothing is ever the end of the world. That she would learn how to stand up on her own 2 feet when it's time. I used to be so worried about being dependent on other people for the rest of my life. And I hope she knows that was never going to be her reality. If I could travel through time, I would give her a hug, because there were so many concerns that I had, and now I'm living in the resolvement. Now I'm living in a space of confidence and contentment and peace, to where the concerns I had when I was little me aren't even a question. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say this life ain't easy, but you'll be fine. That's why I say that. Because no matter what you go through, no matter what you're worried about, no matter what piece of development you feel like you lack, that is not your reality. Not only is that not your reality, you will grow if you let yourself. If you let yourself grow, if you let yourself feel, if you let yourself process, you will be fine. So now that's it. And I'll see you next week.